Right now, behind the closed doors of the Bank of England, an institution that has weathered centuries of war, plague, and financial collapse, a warning is circulating that sounds like science fiction, but the math behind it is terrifyingly real. This isn't a theoretical exercise, it's a live scenario model being run at the highest levels, a stress test for a risk that has, until now, been considered zero. The kind of risk that doesn't just bend the system, but breaks it entirely. A former senior financial stability analyst, a man whose job was to imagine the unimaginable, has just urged the governor to prepare for a total system reset. The trigger, not a war, not a pandemic, but an official announcement that we are not alone. Forget grainy videos and speculative podcasts. This isn't about sightings or conspiracies. This is about first contact as a financial weapon. The memo argues that the simple, verifiable confirmation of non-human intelligence would act as an information bomb, detonating at the heart of our global economy. We are talking about a shock so deep it could devalue the currency in hours, crash the global energy market by lunch, and trigger bank runs that no amount of money printing can stop. Think about it. Every asset we own, from real estate to stocks to government bonds, is valued based on a shared understanding of our world, our technology, and our place in the universe. If that understanding is shattered overnight, what is anything truly worth? The memo calls this the valuation void, a sudden, catastrophic inability to price risk because the fundamental rules have changed. This isn't happening in a vacuum. The US government is moving toward a declassification event larger than any in human history. While the public anticipates revelations about past events, the smart money is terrified of something else entirely, the ontological shock that follows. It's the psychological and economic fallout when 8 billion people are forced to update their reality all at once. They fear the public isn't ready, and that our fragile, interconnected financial system is even less prepared. So, if the rules of reality change tomorrow, what happens to your bank account? What happens to your pension, your mortgage, your entire financial future? This is the most important economic question of our lifetime, and it's being asked in secret, right now. Today, we're looking at the secret memo the Bank of England was never supposed to make public, and we're going to walk through the 3 shocks it predicts will hit in 3 distinct acts. To understand the scale of this threat, you first need to understand the messenger. Helen McCaw isn't an outsider or a fringe theorist. She is the ultimate insider, having spent over a decade as a senior financial stability analyst at the Bank of England. Her entire career was built on a single critical function: to model the unthinkable. Her job was to stress test the global financial system against black swan events, those rare, high-impact disasters that conventional wisdom says will never happen. She modeled catastrophic solar flares, coordinated cyber attacks on global payment systems, and pandemics far deadlier than what we've seen. She lived in the world of worst-case scenarios, making her uniquely qualified to identify the next one. So when someone with her credentials submits a formal letter to the Governor of the Bank of England, Andrew Bailey, it's not just another piece of correspondence. It's a documented professional warning from within the system itself. In it, she strips away the sci-fi and looks at the cold, hard logic of our economic architecture. The core of her argument is devastatingly simple. The entire modern financial system, from your mortgage to global trade, is a house of cards built on one foundational assumption: that humans are the only intelligent, technologically capable players in the game. If that assumption breaks, she warns, the result is an information gap. Think of it this way. Right now, governments and central banks have a near monopoly on critical economic information. They set interest rates, print money, and manage crises because they have the data. But in a world with a confirmed NHI, that monopoly shatters. The government might know, but the public knows they don't know. That gap in knowledge, trust, and control doesn't just create uncertainty. It becomes a canyon, severing the public from the institutions meant to protect them. McCaw argues that the moment the White House confirms a non-human intelligence, we aren't just looking at a news story. We are looking at the instant obsolescence of nearly all current economic theory. When the unthinkable becomes official, markets don't just dip, they stop. they freeze. Why? Because the fundamental act of pricing an asset, a stock, a bond, a piece of real estate, depends on predicting the future. And in that moment, every predictive model we have becomes worthless. Nobody knows how to price a world where human technology, human labor, and human ingenuity are suddenly second best. But here is the part that should terrify every investor, and it's a concept she calls the valuation void. This goes far beyond a market crash. A crash is a repricing of assets. A valuation void is the conclusion that many assets no longer have a price at all. It's a state of total paralysis where the things you own today, your home, your retirement fund, your cash in the bank, might have zero discernible utility or value tomorrow. The very concept of worth breaks down. Stick around because in 60 seconds, we're breaking down the 3 sectors that would be wiped out in the first hour of disclosure. Why would a central bank, an institution built on cold, hard numbers, be terrified of an announcement about non-human life? The answer is a 2-word concept that underpins the worst-case scenario for any economy: asset obsolescence. This isn't a gradual market shift, it's a valuation singularity. It's the risk that the fundamental assumptions propping up entire sectors of our global economy could be proven wrong, not over decades, but in a single moment. If an advanced intelligence is confirmed, every asset in your portfolio, from stocks to bonds to real estate, gets violently repriced for a new reality. The market wouldn't just dip, it would be forced to answer a question it has never faced. What is humanity's place in the new cosmic pecking order? Let's break down the first-order impacts. First, energy. If their technology operates on principles that bypass combustion or fission as we know it, say, zero-point energy or gravity manipulation, then the very concept of a fuel-based economy becomes archaic. It's not just that oil and gas stocks go to zero, the entire trillion-dollar fossil fuel industry, with its vast infrastructure of rigs, refineries and pipelines, loses its fundamental value overnight. The second-order effect is geopolitical chaos. Nations built on petrocurrencies face immediate state failure. The global power map, drawn for a century around who controls the oil, is instantly erased. Next, real estate. For all of human history, value has been tied to location, proximity to resources, to trade, to power. If their propulsion technology makes distance irrelevant, the premium value of land in cities like London, Tokyo, or New York vanishes. Why pay millions for a Manhattan apartment when you can live in a remote paradise and commute instantly? The second-order effect is the collapse of the mortgage market. Trillions in loans are backed by commercial and residential property whose value has just evaporated. Banks would face a solvency crisis dwarfing 2008. Finally, and most profoundly, the sovereign guarantee. Money, whether it's the pound or the dollar, only works because we collectively trust the government to enforce the rules and honor its debts. It's a promise backed by a monopoly on force. But if a power exists that is vastly superior to any national government, that promise becomes meaningless. The full faith and credit of a nation becomes an antique. The second-order effect is a flight from all fiat currency. Without a trusted guarantor, the global financial system would fracture. People would rush towards tangible assets, but in a world where even the value of land and energy is in question, what exactly is a safe haven? This is the ultimate systemic risk, a true black swan that reprices, not just a company or a sector, but humanity itself. If you value a logic-first approach to wealth, you need to be in this circle. We track the intersection of high finance and systemic shocks every week. Hit subscribe and join our community of strategic thinkers, because when the fundamental rules of value change, the uninformed don't just lose money, they lose everything. Usually when the world faces a crisis, you buy gold. But McCaw's warning raises a terrifying paradox. If we confirm contact with a spacefaring civilization, gold might not be scarce anymore. If asteroid mining or advanced alchemy is possible, your gold bars become just another industrial metal. This is why analysts are looking at Bitcoin. It is the only asset with a mathematically capped supply that functions independently of planetary politics. But there's a catch. If the global grid goes down during the initial panic, how do you trade? We're looking at the contact-proof portfolio next. How do you prepare for a 1% probability event with 100% impact? Strategic preparation requires 3 steps. 1. Watch the declassification. Follow the 2026 UAP Disclosure Act updates. The financial move happens before the announcement, not after. 2. Diversify into post-shock assets. Focus on raw utility. Assets that have value regardless of the technological era. 3. Manage the shock. McCaw's biggest fear is psychological fear. The winners won't be the ones with the most cash. They'll be the ones who didn't panic when the world's operating system was updated. The Bank of England is being told to build a break glass in case of contact plan. If they are doing it, why aren't you? We are living through the most significant shift in human history, and the financial system is the canary in the coal mine. The memo is on the governor's desk. The clock is ticking.